Hi everybody, I'm Glenn Kennedy, along with my co-host Charles Motts, and welcome back to Barn Talk. Today we have a very special guest, Noreen Maxson Kirk. How are you doing this morning, Noreen?
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're here.
You're welcome. So, as you know, we can't do the history of West Covina without a Maxson here.
That's right.
So, we brought one, and Noreen, tell us a little bit about your grandfather and your grandparents.
Okay, my grandparents lived first in El Monte, and his father was kind of well known in the El Monte history. They moved here and built their home on Sunset. They first lived in a barn while the house was being built. And one of my uncles always joked he was born in a barn, but my dad, Gib, and the four younger kids were born in the house. And the house is where the Maxson Medical Center on Sunset is now, and my grandfather owned the land where there's apartments, which was where Sunset School first was.
Yes.
And he had a walnut packing business, and so he owned quite a bit of land behind the property also. And then he became involved in kind of the city government, and he became the first mayor. And they had 13 children. My dad was number 12.
Was he 12?
He
Okay.
was 12 out of 13, so I'm glad they kept going. And, he was little when my grandfather died. My dad was only 7, so a lot of the memories we have were from his older brothers and sisters. But they lived at the house till the 60s, my grandmother did. And so there were a lot of memories then for the family there. And the first school was a one-room schoolhouse. My grandfather and grandmother had land. They built the one-room schoolhouse. And my dad and the younger kids, the oldest sister, Frances, was their teacher. And so then they gave the land to build Sunset School. And that was there till the apartments went in. And my dad was, I said, born on Sunset. He went to school there. There was only Pewenny High School, so all the Maxsons went to Pewenny. I think all 13 of them, because when my dad's youngest sister graduated, they had an article in the paper saying the last of the Maxsons. And then Dad went to Chaffee Junior College. He went to Santa Barbara College, and then he went into the Army Air Corps, and so he flew the B-24s.
So I know your dad told me a couple things. One thing I do remember is the reason why they went to Pewenny High School. There's a reason why they went to Pewenny High School. They were still mad at Covina over the sewer.
Yeah.
Absolutely, because where they lived, you had the choice either Covina or Pewenny, and they were still upset with the city of Covina. That's why they went to Pewenny High School.
That's why my grandfather started the kids down. Yeah, the older kids. So they all went. That's true.
It is.
Yeah.
Your dad probably coached most of West Covina kids, because he was my coach too.
Yeah.
And he was my coach too.
Yeah, and what a fine coach he was. And he also was a good builder too.
Yes.
Yes.
He did a lot of that in the summers. He would do building, and then he did when he retired, he did a lot of building, adding on for people. He helped my sister build her house. And then he got into woodworking too, like bowls and building different things like that. He had a lot of interest. I mean, he did lapidary, made jewelry, just
What did all the Maxsons boys? They all were in the service during the Second War.
They were all in the. My uncle, his one brother, was on the front lines, so he was right up there in the front battle lines. They were all, I believe, in the army of some sort. Yeah. My one uncle was stationed for many years down at the Panama Canal.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they were all Army, and then there was no Air Force at the time. The Air Force didn't come in until after the war. So they were
Air Force.
yeah, they're Army Air Corps is what they're called. Yes.
A lot of them, they were all in combat, from what I
Well, yeah.
understood. Yes, very much so.
And Dad was stationed 3 years in Japan,
Oh, so he really was
and
right there.
he could speak Japanese, so we thought that was
So,
cool.
That's interesting.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't
Yeah,
know that.
No, that's interesting.
You know.
You know, my mom used to go over to your grandmother's house when she was young. They roller skate down the staircase from upstairs.
The older, yeah.
Yeah,
She
that
was
was-
friends with my aunts.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
all of them were friends,
They
but I
all
meant
were.
the girls kind of hung out more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I had 3 of them as teachers. Weren't quite a few of the girls teachers?
Yes.
Yes, Edith. Edith didn't stay in our district though, did she?
No, and neither did Evelyn. Evelyn was Dean of Girls in Covina, at Covina High School.
Oh, that's right, she was. She was, yes, I remember that.
So, I know your father was my coach, and I was like one of the last people he coached,
Yeah.
last era. He had coached for a long time because
Yeah.
he was ready to retire when I was in high school. So-
Yes, because he was PE consultant
And
for
that's
many
when he
years.
became. He became
Yeah.
the PE guy.
After he taught, when they were first married, when we were little, I don't even know if my younger sister was born, then at Sunset he taught like 7th or 8th grade, and then he went to be PE consultant. So there were like 15 or 16 schools that he went to.
Nice.
And so you could sign up, say he came to your school that day or was gonna come. You could sign up and say, work on the boys passing the football, or teach us a square dance, or whatever you wanted. And so he'd come to your class and work with your kids. And so then he went to the high school, and that's where,
Yeah,
He
he
coached.
he coached at the high school.
and he taught wood shop and PE classes.
So, and I know that he was one of the first Little League coaches at West Covina National. Today it sits at the corner of Sunset and Roland, but back then, when like Jay Johnstone played, they played. It sits where City Hall sits today.
Yes,
And,
Jay played for him.
yeah, so he coached for, I think, like you said, 7-8 years,
Yes.
and then after high school, I played there, and me and my best friend Jerry Kershaw, we were there for at least 30 years, and he used to come by the Little League and get in the parking lot. He'd bring his old Model T, and all the kids would go crazy. Everybody loved your dad.
Yeah,
He
no,
was
they
a
sure
salt
did.
of the earth kind of guy.
He loved the kids, he really did. He always enjoyed working with them, and, you know, like, we could have all the neighborhood kids over, to, you know, at any time they played. And so, yeah, we always had something going on.
To go back a little farther, could you tell us about the beach house? That goes back in the
Oh,
20s.
yes.
Yeah, that was quite a,
That's, my dad had fond memories, but he was one of the younger ones. They had a beach house, and it was called Anaheim Landing, but now we would know it as Seal Beach. And so they had it till World War II, when the Navy took it over because they needed it for operations and stuff. But they called it the Beehive because they always had so many people staying there.
yes, that's what everybody talked about. I guess the whole neighborhood went to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they all went as a group and had a good time.
Yeah, they all made room for everybody.
Yes, they had a very good time.
Yeah, and I was going to say, as Mrs. Renicky would always say, you were bored, you could go over to the Maxsons house because there was 13 children. There's
Yes.
always somebody to play with.
They
You
always
find
will.
somebody to play with.
Yeah.
And my grandma was good, like, if you're already having 13 people, 15 to feed, if I brought you home or you brought a couple of friends home, didn't matter. There was you could always
5 more people didn't
Yeah.
matter.
you could always bring somebody home to eat.
Yeah, and your grandfather was just a wonderful person.
Yeah, I wish I would have known him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Mother talked about him, and my father. They all missed him.
Yeah,
he was just
You know,
wonderful.
he was a strong leader at
Yeah.
at the time that we needed a strong leadership.
Yeah.
You know, there was a few people, and your dad took the bull by the horns.
Yeah.
You know, and then basically the reason why West Covina exists because of your father.
How about, I'd like to hear about how he gave the property to this school board, the school district, and so they could build the school and everything.
Oh, my grandfather donated it for the first school, and they built it. They built the first school, but then when the city wanted to sell the land, they had to find the deed, and I think that to make it legal in those days, when he donated it, I think they gave him like $5 just so it'd be legal on the paperwork, and then they found that and gave it to the city because they wanted to sell the school, and then they made the apartments.
Well, I always thought that was not right. Your family gave them the property, and if the school district was going to sell it, then they should have given the money back to you, because rightfully it was yours. You know, your grandfather was kind enough to donate the land, build the school, and educate people. So your grandfather was the first mayor,
Yes,
and he actually started the school district.
right.
So, like I said, it's left a sour taste in my mouth, because the reason why it exists is because of the Maxsons. He gave them the property, and then they sold it in the 80s? Here 60 years later, they sell the property, and they should have just given the money or the land back to the Maxsons.
Which,
One or the other,
Yeah, we kinda wondered
and they
about
did
it.
it. And I didn't think that was very
yeah,
kosher.
education was really important in my dad's
Yeah.
family. To my grandfather also, because he donated land, but I think there's,
Well, okay, so if he didn't do it, there would have been no education in West Covina for another 30 years.
Yeah.
That's correct.
That's a fact, because until the city started to explode, they would have just either gone to Covina or Pawnee.
yeah, and I think 8 of the kids were in education. My
Yes.
dad's one brother was assistant superintendent in Covina. My aunt was in counseling, dean of girls. Dad and his brother in Delano was the ag teacher, and another aunt was a vice principal in El Monte.
And
By the legacy.
very important to you, the Maxsons. And I imagine our family wouldn't have gotten the education either, because they all went to college. Most of the kids in West Covina, when they
Went-
graduated, were ready to go on.
Yes,
And it
they,
was because of that Sunset School and your father, I believe, because he started the school.
well, my grandfather.
Grandfather, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
but my dad was there, taught there.
Yes, he did, didn't he? Yeah, I'm sorry, I got that.
Well, you were right. We
Yeah, it was
went
very
to grade
important.
school.
And I agree with Glenn. Even when they sold that piece of property to the hospital, that should have gone back to the Maxsons, because that was a ballpark for the kids. And
Yeah,
that was very important.
yes,
So
it was.
it was.
It was.
And that was kind of a legendary park back even in the 1920s. That all the kids played there. So
Okay, so with that, we'd like to say thank you. Have a nice day, and we'll catch you next time. Thank you very much.
thank you.